Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are One Mountain, Many Paths, where our mission is what Barbara Marx Hubbard and Dr. Mark Goffney call the planetary awakening in love through a unique self symphony. Together, we declare that the last day of the old face of evolution is honored as the first day of the new face of creation. I am Christina Tehel, the co-executive producer, along with Krista Josepha, and we are delighted to be here with each and every one of you today. We welcome you to week 243 of our live broadcast. Use the Zoom or the Facebook chat function to say hi, to let us know where you're from, and to resonate the Dharma. On Zoom, check that your chat settings say all panelists and attendees and not just all panelists. In One Mountain, Many Paths, we are connected, we are whole, and we are expressions of the entire process of creation. We are activating a new humanity, and we are awakening as a new species, Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens. We weave together the knowledge and wisdom from religion, spirituality, and science to articulate a global ethos for a global civilization. Welcome home, everyone. We are strengthening an evolutionary we space. Especially, we welcome anyone who on Thursday was at the Mark and Andrew dialogue about facing the truth. And we especially welcome the friends of Barbara Marx Hubbard. Thank you for joining us. We are grateful to honor Barbara in her joining genius with Dr. Mark Goffney. And we want to let you know that we have published a new Barbara course that we haven't shared with anyone anywhere yet called Gateway to Conscious Evolution, that Krista will share at the end of the broadcast. So please do stay with us throughout the entire event. To deepen your relationship in One Mountain, Many Paths, do please email Krista, whose email is now in the chat box. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/One Mountain, Many Paths, to get inspired by the great clips and member activities posting there every week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at One Mountain, Many Paths, and share our clips with your communities. Also, we are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook right now. And if you are on those platforms listening, you can join us on Zoom by going to onemountainmanypaths.org. If you are on Zoom, copy either of the links from this Zoom chat box and share your favorites on your favorite social media channels. With that, I'll give you a little bit of what to expect today. We begin with a Dharma recap from last week's church. Afterwards, Dr. Mark sets our intention, and then David resonates the evolutionary love code. We move into prayer, then evolutionary sermons with Dr. Mark and with Barbara Marx Hubbard today. And then Krista invites us to commit our outrageous acts of love, to contribute our gifts to the revolution, to step into membership, leadership, and to play our unique instrument in the unique self symphony. Mark wrote what he called evolutionary love codes. Mark and Barbara studied the codes together, often comparing them with Barbara's own 52 codes for conscious self-evolution. These codes grow out of their radical commitment over 100 collective years, crystallizing the new story of humanity, quote, evolving the course of consciousness and culture, which is the source code of love, unquote. Know that each communion here is a standalone, and every week's communion also builds on the week before. One Mountain, Many Paths is radically committed to telling the new universe story. Now, for our Dharma recap from last week. The Dharma and the yoga of Homo Amor, the next step in conscious evolution. In a world of 7.7 billion humans, we face self-destruction. We're at a very particular point in history, the Anthropocene, where human action is shaping our future. The way to go from dystopia to create music unlike the world's ever heard, the mathematics of intimacy, is to articulate a shared Dharma. Dharma means the best story about reality ever told, the best integration of all the leading streams of science and wisdom based on first principles and first values, such as eros, intimacy, the evolution of intimacy, goodness, freedom, choice, honor, nobility, fairness, effort, and innovation. In order to respond to existential risk, in order to respond to the voice of the future that demands that we stand for the future so there will be a future, we have to tell the best story ever told. The story beyond polarities, beyond conservative or Democrats, beyond East or West, religion, white or black, male or female, or transgender. Every challenge we face today is based on a breakdown in global systems or global coherence. Global coherence breaks down because there's a global intimacy disorder. The intimacy disorder emerges from there's no shared narrative or Dharma of where we are and who we are. So where are we and who are we? We are telling the new story, the universe : a love story. We are evolution. Evolution moves in us. We are the desire of evolution itself. We are conscious evolution. We change reality. We organize as human beings in community around a shared universe story, a shared story of identity emergent from profound, wondrous value. Subatomic particles, electrons, neutrons, protons, they come together, they form an atom. An atom is fundamentally empty, 99.99999% empty, but not empty. There's a field of meaning. There's an actual conversation between separate parts, codes, principles, and values. The subatomic particles come together and share different dimensions of meaning that each hold its own story. The electron has its own story, the proton, the neutron. When they come together, a shared field of intimate coherence is created, a shared field of information as meaning, Dharma. But that's not enough. That Dharma has to become part of our bodies, literally become part of our body. We've got to know it in our body. We learn the melody of cosmos uniquely as us, as our unique note in that melody. To do that, we practice. We do yoga every single day. We practice the new universe story. We make it part of ourselves. With that, I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred space of One Mountain, Many Paths And I turn my word to you, Dr. Mark Goffney.
Oh my goddess. Christina Tahel, that was beautiful. And friends, at this moment we set intention. And I wanna set the intention really deeply here with you on a number of levels. I wanna touch on 2 or 3 pieces in setting intention so we can actually really locate ourselves. We are going the next step. What week are we in of One Mountain? Is this like 242 or 243? What week? Anybody?
243.
243. So let's say we for 243 weeks in a row, right? We've been here together. And I remember literally the moment I called Barbara, it was late at night. I said, wow, we just had this vision. We've got to start this evolutionary church, this One Mountain, Many Paths. And we had an immediate yes on it. We could feel it. And our intention, and now our intention together, all of us together, is that this is the throbbing pulse center, heart, ecstatic impulse of the revolution. That's who we are. And to really feel that welcome, whether you're people that have studied with me over the years or studied with Barbara over the years or studied in other places, you've had independent tracks of study, or whether you've never actually stepped into this place of being a revolutionary, right? We are the heartthrob of the revolution in a particular moment in time. In this moment in which we're poised between utopia and dystopia, in this time between worlds, in this time between stories, in which we're faced with a level of existential and catastrophic risk that is unprecedented in human history, in which the extraction models driven by the governing story of humanity, which is a success story, and success is defined as rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics. So it's a win-lose metrics. There's no win-win-win. There's no understanding at the very core that we're actually part of the same field of consciousness and desire, that we are irreducibly unique expressions of that field, and that actually there is no longer any notion of locality. We're all part of the same emergent, gorgeous field. And that we need to move from this old vision of success 2.0, to what John Mackey, the chair of Whole Foods, and myself called in 2014, we called this Success 3.0. And Success 3.0, let's frame it in a new language. It is the movement from Homo sapien to Homo amor. That's a very big deal. So stay close. We're just setting the intention here. And setting the intention is everything. And we're going to hear a gorgeous talk from Barbara today. We have an incredible evolutionary love code. But I want to stay really close with the intention. What's our intention? Our intention is that at this moment, as we stand between worlds, between stories, as we're faced with utopia, potential gorgeous utopia, we can face into a beautiful utopia, but we're also faced with a more natural, if things go in their course and continue in the inherent direction of cascading falling dominoes in the social structures, we're actually headed towards dystopia, and a very real dystopia, which will either be the extinction of humanity, that's the first form of existential risk, or the extinction of our humanity, either the death of humanity or the death of our humanity, where we become nanobots, downgraded humans in a world of upgraded algorithms, which the power moves to algorithms. It's a shocking realization. But we don't turn away, right? The natural interest is turn away. It's too much. We can't hold it. It's not ours. There must be a room someplace that's handling this. There must be scenario planners. There must be a room in the White House and the Kremlin, right? Someplace, somebody's talking about this, right? Where? And we don't realize it's actually ours to do. It's not only ours to do. We have to join forces all over the world, but we have a very unique, particular mission, which is stunning beyond imagination. we're going to actually be the tellers of the new story. But by the new story, we don't mean new technical structures. We mean actually the new story. And we're going to tell the new story of what it means to be a human being. We're going to tell the new story of the universe. We're going to tell the new story of power. We're going to tell the new story of community and communion. We're going to tell the new story of desire. Because it's that new story which takes us beyond the success story, beyond that which is the generator function of existential risk. The success story, the rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics, which causes global intimacy disorder, which causes extraction models, which causes gaps between haves and have-nots, which causes, right, all of the multiple factors that will actually undermine the very existence of humanity or the very nature of humanity. The response to that is the new story. It's the new story of what we call here unique self. But each one of these stories, it's the story of what we call the amorous cosmos or the universal love story. But if you're new, so I want you to understand, if with your permission, these are not phrases, these are not declarations, these are not slogans, right? At the Foundation for Conscious Evolution and at the Center for Integral Wisdom, we're working for the last decade, day and night, to actually express and articulate. We have 15 volumes that are unpublished, right? We're waiting, we're trying to put together this new great library. Just like there was a great library of Alexandria 2,000 years ago. There was the great library of the Renaissance. This is the great library of the new Renaissance, to actually articulate the source code structures that allow us to tell the new story, which becomes the matrix of the global ethos for the global civilization. Within that global ethos, there's an enormous amount of diversity. There's many instruments in the symphony, but we're all part of the same music. We all have different instruments to play in that score, and it's often a jazz symphony. But there is a unique self-symphony. There's a bottom-up self-organizing universe, organized based on first principles and first values that are part of a universal grammar of value. That's the vision. It is actually, from a human perspective, the only vision that can walk us through this global intimacy disorder. Because it's the global intimacy disorder that's the core generator function of the existential risk. That intimacy disorder, based on rivalrous conflict, success story governed by win-lose metrics. To overcome it, we have to tell a new story. So the overwhelming moral imperative of this moment in time is the telling of that new story. That's not easy to get, right? People are kind of locked on the governance of the now and can't see around the corner. Like, what are they talking about? Just like when we talked about, a number of years ago, we talked about, right, the possibilities of pandemic, right, the possibilities of breakdown, how the whole system could fail. And everyone said, not possible. Well, now we know it is possible. We're in an incredible moment in time. And we are here as revolutionaries to actually be the new story, to tell the new story, to work it out on the deepest levels of thought and writing, and to come together every Sunday as a band of revolutionaries, right? Knowing our true identity as unique expressions of outrageous love. Not ordinary love, not just human sentiment romance, which is beautiful, but actually we're romancing the cosmos and the cosmos is romancing us. Outrageous love is not mere human sentiment, it's the heart of existence itself. So we come together as a band of outrageous lovers. And our core position in relationship to the world is, we call it olat, outrageous love all the time. Not that we don't go up and down, not that our hearts don't break, not that we don't deal with depression, not that we don't deal with contraction, not that we don't deal with trauma, but we do all of that from a place of heart wide open. We live with our hearts wide open. We live as what Rumi called, the great Sufi mystic, mad lovers. Right? We're mad lovers, with enormous attention to detail and to footnotes, right? We're deeply grounded, and yet the ladder reaches to the heavens, right? So that heaven and earth can kiss, so there can be a future. If the statistics play out, and the statistics have been very finely crunched by a number of scholars, we could not be here in a relatively short amount of time. So the voice of the future is us, right? We can actually expand into the future, right? We're holding the trillions of human beings, that might not exist. We're holding the infinite depths of humanity that could be crushed if the existential risk of the death of humanity comes to fore. What's our mood in all of this? It's not fear. It's significant, passionate concern, unbearable joy at being privileged to be at the table, right, as revolutionaries. We laugh out of one side of our mouth. We cry out of the other side. We're fully alive. We're pressed into service. We experience the roughness and density of life alive and moving in us. Oh my God, it is so good to be with you. And I want to say just one last thing, right, about Barbara Marx Hubbard. I promised Barbara, and Barbara promised me, and we promised she, right, reality itself, that this was going to be our home in the world, this one mountain, many paths. And Barbara is with us every week, and Barbara stood in this one mountain unflaggingly. The last thing she said, her last word before she died, I was on the phone with her right before a one mountain session. And she wanted to know, right, we wanted to talk about what we were doing this morning. And she said, Mark! And I said, Barbara! And she never spoke another word. It was right before one mountain. And she's with us. Right? Barbara understood in her body the continuity of consciousness. And she committed to be here, and she is here. And you are here, Barbara. You are here right now, and I can feel you, and we can feel you. Right? And welcome. Right? And you'll continue to speak here. Right? In every possible way. In recorded sermons, right, that you recorded before you passed, right? And in all of the inspired presence of the continuity of consciousness. Oh my God. So what an honor to be with you all. Right? What an honor to be outrageous lovers together, to be the band of outrageous lovers, to be the fellowship of the ring. Remember Tolkien? So we're the fellowship of the ring. It's ours to do. Okay. Wow. David, give us an evolutionary love code, brother, right? Haley, thank you for your gorgeous Dharma recapitulation. And here's the thing, we get to be excited. Okay? Give yourself permission. Let your heart blow open. You get to be passionate. You get to be fully alive. Bring it up through the central channel of your heart and let it explode in you. Full aliveness, full eros, full power. David, take us into the evolutionary love code this week. Thank you, brother. Oh my God.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. So good to be here, everyone. Did you feel that, everyone? The way that Mark is pointing out really our deepest heart's desire that has brought us here. So as Barbara used to say during her resonance, which is what I've been privileged to inherit from her, this role, is let's locate the core of the spiral of evolution within our own hearts. Let's locate that evolutionary impulse that Mark is so beautifully calling out in us, what brought us here today, what yearns for a better world that we know is possible. And as I read this code, let's let it sink into our bodies. So this week's evolutionary love code, the field of intimacy and desire is seamless, but not featureless. The field is always moving toward greater intimacy. We are each unique features of the larger field of intimacy and desire. That means we are each a unique configuration of intimacy and desire that is part of the larger field. The field itself is generating a new structure of intimacy, which is the unique self symphony. To join the field and play your instrument in the unique self symphony, you must be willing to take your unique risk. And with that, it's my honor to turn that word to you, Dr. Mark.
Oh my God, David, thank you. And David, beautiful. Let's look at that, friends, together for a moment in the chat box before we take our next step. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, can we see it in the chat box? Is it there at the bottom? I'm looking for it. There it is. Okay, let's just read it wherever you are, right? Let's just read it out loud together. We could spend a day, right? This is an evolutionary love code, and David and I and Christina Tahel and Suzette were committed by the end of the year to publish the first book on evolutionary love code. It's a simple book, just with, I think 72 codes and one page each. Because each code captured something of the new story. So David reads, the field of intimacy and desire is seamless but not featureless. Right? So it's one field, but unique features. Right? And the field's always moving. Right? There's a direction to the field. Right? There's telos to evolution. Right? There are plot lines to the story. Okay? And where's the field going? Anyone in the chat box, where's the field going? It's moving towards more and more coherence, more and more intimacy. I sat with my colleague and friend Ervin Laszlo in Tuscany about a year ago, a little more. And we were talking about this movement of the field. And I was trying to describe to Ervin, right, let's use a new word, right? Not just moving towards more coherence, it's moving towards more intimacy, more intimate coherence. Intimacy means more contact, separate parts, becoming larger wholes. Now, friends, stay close. And we're going to hear some of this in the sermon from Barbara, and we're going to do Christina Tehel Barbara's sermon first. Okay? What drives the field? The field's moving towards more intimacy. What drives the field? Anybody in the chat box. What drives the field? What moves the field? Anybody? What moves the field? Anybody? What moves the field? One word. One word. Right? It's love. Right? It's eros. Right? It's love, eros. Yes. Right? And it's a particular face of love and eros, which is desire. Right? So the field. So just catch this. This is very important in the new story. In the old story of spirituality, we would talk about the field being a field of consciousness. That's true self. We call that true self, the knowledge that I'm not just separate from the field, I'm one with the field, and the nature of the field is consciousness. We call that true self. We're now deepening what true self means, and we're actually emerging from true self to what we call unique self, that the field is seamless but not featureless, and I'm the unique feature of the field. Okay, that's 2. But 3, and what drives the field? The same thing that drives me. What drives me? I'm driven towards more and more intimacy, more and more contact, more and more shared identity, right? More and more, right? More and more impact. Right? I want to impact on you. I want you to impact on me. I want to touch your heart. I want you to touch my heart. I want to touch you politically and morally and existentially and psychologically and spiritually. And I want to embrace you physically. Right? Right? In other words, it's the desire for contact, the desire for more and more intimacy, wider and wider shared identities. So it's not just an abstract movement of the field. It's a raw, pulsing, throbbing desire that drives the whole field towards ever greater intimacy. Reality is eros, and that eros lives not only in the field, but in me. It's like, wow. The same desire that drives subatomic particles to move from separate wholes, separate parts, right, into, and each one is its own whole, each part is a whole, into a larger whole, separate parts into larger wholes, right? That movement, that allurement that binds them, that brings the subatomic particles together, that desire is the same desire that moves you and me. So evolution has a plot line, it has a vector. That's unbelievable. I mean, if we're not fainting in ecstatic grace now, then we're asleep. Right? To actually understand that evolution is not just simplicity to complexity. It's not systems theory that's rooted in exteriors and its. It's all about interiors. Our reality is moving not just to more complexity, but more complexity means more intimate coherence. It's a new word I created about a year and a half ago. I love the word. I created it in conversation with Ervin Laszlo. Right? Intimate coherence. We created it together, Ervin and I. There's intimate coherence and there's coherent intimacy. Right? Reality is moving towards intimate coherence and ever more coherent intimacy. And that movement of reality is alive in me. That's who I am, which means for the first time, it's one cosmos. It's one world. It's one love. It's one heart. I can actually, for the first time, be at home in the cosmos. That means, back to the code, that we're each a unique configuration of intimacy and desire that's part of this larger field. Right? The field itself is generating, right? So, right? Everyone get that sentence again. I mean, if we don't get that sentence, if we just read this fast, right? It's like that means that each of us, right? Every one of us, right? Every single, right, are a unique configuration of intimacy and desire. That's who I am. So if someone puts a 357 Magnum to your head and says, yo, yo's like the opposite of oi. Yo, who are you? Make my day. 357 Magnum. Tell me who you are and live, right? Because that's what universe is always saying. Tell me who you are and live. So what do you say? Something you want to know. You say, I am a unique configuration of intimacy and desire who is needed by all that is. And intimacy and desire pulse in me uniquely. And I reach to create unique wholes which emerge from my unique gift, my unique way of being in the world. Right? Wow. I'm a unique configuration of intimacy and desire, and I am moved by the same intimacy and desire that move the larger field, which means that the evolutionary impulse, which is the progressive, the movement towards more and more wholeness, towards more and more intimacy, more and more coherent intimacy, more and more intimate coherence, that evolutionary impulse is awake and alive in me. The desire of evolution lives in me. I am evolution and evolution is me. I am the evolutionary impulse. And my job is not to move past my ego. Of course I want to be in right relationship to the ego. No, but it's much deeper. I want to align with the evolutionary impulse. Wow. I want to align with the personal face of the evolutionary impulse that's awake and alive in me. That's our code for this week. And we got to talk about, right, to do that, you got to take your unique risk. We might not get to your unique risk this week, but I want to feel this code with you. So we're going to go into prayer, and then Barbara's going to dive into the code. Okay? So we're going to pray now. Right now remember, when we say we're going to pray, it's not like, oh, no, whoa, we're going to pray. We're going to pray means we're about to make love. Okay? So if you want to know, do you understand what prayer is? So if you feel when someone says we're going to pray, we feel like, wow, we're about to make love. We're about to love reality open and be loved open by the infinity of intimacy, then you've got an idea of prayer, and we've got to up-level prayer. Prayer is not what it meant in pre-modernity, right? I put in the Catholic Church an indulgence, and I get back, right, a beep from my computer, right? I get back, right, it's some kind of reward. It's not I put in a prayer and I get a shiny white car, right? A shiny red car. It's not some degraded version of the law of attraction. Right? Prayer means that the infinity of intimacy knows my name. And the infinity of intimacy is another name for the Tao. It's another name for spirit. It's another name for interiors. It's another name for Eros. It's another name for God, for Mat, for Geist, for Atman as Brahman, for Shunyata. Call it what you will. Right? It's the realization that the cosmos is not driven by, oops, there's a cosmos. Cosmos is driven by an implicate order, an underlying eros, a telos, a vector, right? A set of plot lines, a progressive deepening of intimacies. That's the good news. And are we excited? Of course we're excited. Was Barbara excited? Barbara was wildly excited. It was one of her great graces. The ability to get wildly excited every day and to share this good news, to tell this new story until this new story becomes the very source code of reality itself. So when we talk about prayer, we mean that we can turn to the infinity of intimacy that knows our name, the second person of spirit, the personhood of cosmos, the infinite personhood of cosmos that knows our name, that yearns for us, that cares desperately about us, that hears our words. Just like you hear me talking and I hear you talking, and my intelligence hears you. And my intelligence is part of the field of intelligence. So if my intelligence hears you, pointing out instruction, could it be that the larger field of intelligence doesn't hear you? That's prayer. So we're going to turn now. And when we listen now to our hymn, The Holy and the Broken Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, right? Jot down, what do you want to pray for? And when you pray, you ask for everything, right? Prayer affirms the dignity of personal need. I ask for everything I need to be, not just Homo sapien, but the fulfillment of Homo sapien and the new human and the new humanity, Homo Amor, right? Like, oh my God, right? To actually access my deepest heart's desire for the sake of the whole, which is the desire of Goddess herself, the desire of God, the desire of evolution itself. So wow, let's go inside, right? The holy and the broken of hallelujah, right? We're trembling before she, then we're going to hear from Barbara.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord David played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name. But if I did, well really, what's it to you?
What's it to you?
There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. I did my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
We ask for everything. And so let's read the prayers like bouquets of flowers and raise them to the sky. Right? Oh my God, right? Right? To feel it, right? I pray, Vashti, right? To easily face existential risk, right? Not to turn away. And to do all that's mine to do with an open heart, acting always as homo amor and singing hallelujah. So just feel that, right? How many Vashtis are there in the world? Vashti, you're opening the space for all of us, right? Lynn, right? I can feel the ecstasy. Shanti, I pray to get to deeper and more intense intimacy aligned with my desire and unique gifts, right? That is reality having a Shanti experience, right? You speak for all of us, brother. Thank you. And thank you for taking your unique risk even when it's hard. Right? Timothy, Paul, Arye, I pray for the courage to embrace, right, an ever deepening intimacy in every way. Right? Terry Nelson, I pray that I be more powerful in telling the new story. Right? Jean, right? Peace, right? My deepest desire is peace. Kirsten, Zohar, Rachel, right? Praying for more and more intimacy with all parts of myself and with others and the whole world. May we all realize, right, our intimate nature. Shahati, I pray for Ursula, right? Ursula, right, who was in so much pain, right, and chose to rest, to rest her arms for eternity. Right, Lynn, I pray that my voice becomes stronger and more beautiful. Jacqueline, right, I pray to fully step into my power so I may offer all of myself to she, as you do in every single note you write. Krista Joseph, I pray desire and love to pour through us all powerfully. Right, Jamie, I pray to go all the way in this lifetime. Suzette, I pray, right, all the graduates, right, of this year see promises of joy, right, as they begin their new chapters, right, in this gorgeous book called Life. And mad blessings to Justin, to your son, right, who just graduated. Rob, oh my God, Rob, I pray that we can open up in every moment, right, like literally open like we've never opened before. David, I pray for all those struggling with mental illness, right? May they find their unique gifts, and all of us who have, because we all have a part of us that, and sometimes the people struggling with mental illness are willing to face it more directly. And they're doing it for all of us, right? And they live in us and we live in them, and the line is very thin. Right, Gio, I pray to be in dialogue, right, with all parts of me, right, with Cosmos, right? Joycey, right, praying for the key, right, to opening my heart and desire consciously. Right, oh my God, Christina Tell, I pray for my son Eli's soul journey. Right, I pray for our deep, amazing, outrageous love festival, says Shakti, which is online, right, this summer from July 31st until August 4th. And I hope we're going to hear about that this week. Right, it's going to be like unbelievable. I pray to be desired. G-Mag, I pray for health and prosperity. And Jack Amber, I pray that One Mountain join hands, right, with like-minded groups. Let's do it, right. And all of us, Michael T, welcome, Michael T. You made it through. It's good to see you, brother. Right, Michael T's prayer and Ugas's prayer and Shanti Ista and Krista Josepha. Right, let's lift those flowers. Let's tie the flowers together, because each of our prayers is for a dimension of all of us. And together we're the 13-petaled rose. Together we're she. Right, together, right, no prayer can be denied. Oh my God. So Barbara Marks Hubbard, right, beloved wholemate, take us inside into this evolutionary love code. Let's have the evolutionary love code in the chat box, and let's welcome Barbara.
Thank you, Mark. I take the word from you and bring it into the word of God's desire for each of us. It is an awesome thought that my deepest heart's desire is the universe's deepest heart's desire through me, and uniquely as me. Because it was always God is here desiring something, and I have my own personal desire. But if we understand that our heart's desire is coming straight from the nature of God itself through us, there's an enormous empowerment to desire that comes here. And then I always say in my own heart's desire, what is it that I'm really desiring? And in the broadest sense, I find I'm desiring exactly what the 13.7 billion years of evolution desires. It desires greater consciousness. So let's say whatever our unique desire is, we all desire that inner impulse of consciousness itself. The second great desire of universal creativity is freedom. Freedom for everyone to be more fully and uniquely who we are. And as we are beginning this in the evolutionary church, which is new in history, this is new. We are taking God's desire for freedom for the individual into our own ability to be free. through the consciousness of the impulse of creation. This is an enormous understanding of freedom. And then the third part of God's desire through us is for greater complexity or connectivity or love. Ever more complex system with ever greater connectivity of separate particles, making a new whole far greater than the sum of our parts. So let's put all of that in there. And then I've been thinking about the Church of Evolutionary Love. We've really named the Evolutionary Church the Church of Evolutionary Love. What do we mean by evolutionary love? Mark has called it outrageous love, and a synonym for outrageous love is evolutionary love. And that the only response to outrageous pain is evolutionary love in every one of us, which is outrageous love. And that the Church of Evolutionary Love, perhaps for the first time ever, is for the fulfillment of the unique configuration of intimacy and desire within its mission and within its members. So when we enter the evolutionary church with our unique intimacy of desire, seeing it as evolutionary love along the pathway of the core of the spiral itself, at the very hub of the wheel of co-creation, desiring through us this. So when evolutionary love is shared within a collective configuration where everyone's unique love goes through the true self, through the unique self, into the evolutionary unique self, empowered by the intimacy of God desiring through you, through me. And when I connect my unique desire to God's desire, then I have to ask myself, what is my truly heart's desire if I go the whole way with it in this lifetime? So let's each of us ask right now within ourselves, what is my deepest heart's desire, which is God desiring through me, going the whole way in this lifetime, joining with all others doing the same in a unique self-symphony of the birth of the new humanity in the new world. That's my deepest heart's desire, to go the whole way in this lifetime. And why should we be going the whole way in this lifetime? Because this is the lifetime when God has to go through the whole way to create the next stage of life on earth. Because if we don't go the whole way collectively in this lifetime, in this next 20, 50 years, whatever that may be, the world itself cannot go the whole way. So we are the evolutionary church of going the whole way in this lifetime, being a beacon of light for people everywhere on earth who are yearning to go the whole way. And we're inviting them to be participants in the evolutionary church of love, to fulfill the highest destiny of each of us collectively and individually for an awakening of a planet where all of our great new capacities are connected through us in a glorious celebration of the uniqueness of human creativity through God. And with this, I ask for your gift of divine desire to be fulfilled through the growth of the Church of Evolutionary Love. Your gift of divine desire planted into the Church of Evolutionary Love, providing the church with the resources and outreach and capacities to invite the entire world into the divine desire in time to go the whole way in this lifetime. This is a truly great request for resources, finances, contributions. You see your contribution makes a difference. Click on that contribution there on our chat box, and you will see that you are contributing to the evolutionary love of humanity.
What a wonderful invitation to become a part of this evolutionary impulse moving in us, as us, and through us, and to not only to be consumers here in One Mountain, but actually to be, as Mark would probably say, it's players on the field and to actually participate in the evolution of love. So you are invited to be a revolutionary and become a part of this revolution by becoming a member of One Mountain and making your contribution. So you can do this. I put the links in the chat box. You can do this by making a one-time donation, but even better, stepping in as a member, which also enables you to become a part of this band of outrageous lovers where we are outrageously loving all the time. You can join, for example, our writing group tomorrow with Christina Emelong every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We are practicing together, and we will share a bit more about that later. And you can join our study groups, and you also get access to 9 deep 7 to 10 week courses, many of them with Mark Goffney and some of them also with Barbara Marx Hubbard. So let me show you where you can actually sign up and step into membership. If you go to onemountainmanypaths.org/membership, then you will find this page and you can read all about it. And here you can see that you can make your own contribution. And we invite and encourage everyone to give as much as you can. So it starts already from $25 a month. If that is what you can give, then totally great. But please give as much as you can. I know some people are giving $100 a month. And if you have it, just pour in all your love into this revolution, because we are owning this, we are being this together, and she is inviting us to step in as much as we can. While we are on this website, I just want to show you, if you click here on resources and you click on books, that's where you can find all the books that are written by both Dr. Mark Goffney and also books from Barbara Marx Hubbard. And I just want to show you this amazing book, Your Unique Self. As Barbara was just speaking about this distinction of the Dharma of Dr. Mark Goffney, which is this distinction between separate self, true self, and unique self. So if you want to dive deeper into that, this book is a really amazing recommendation for you to start learning a bit more about that. Now I want to share with you about an amazing event that is coming up this summer. We already spoke about it a little bit, the Outrageous Love Festival, because we need to not only receive the Dharma, but also embody the Dharma and practice the Dharma. And the festival is really the place where these two come together, where we get to hang out for 5 days, and it's online. So it's the same as this live stream, but then 5 full days learning, studying with Dr. Mark Goffney and practicing together. So there's going to be teachings from Mark every day, but also workshops and spaces for us to practice and meet each other. So please click on the link in the chat box, sign up right now. You really do not want to miss this. And last but not least, I want to let you all know that we have a special new course from Barbara Marx Hubbard called Gateway to Conscious Evolution. It has just been released, just published. We haven't announced it anywhere yet. I just wanted to share it with you first, our people from One Mountain, to let you know that this course is now online and available for you. And you even get an amazing discount if you sign up for it now. So we'll share that link also in the chat box and in the emails coming to you right after One Mountain. So take a look at that. And with that, I give my word back to you, beloved Mark.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a beautiful day, my friends. What a beautiful and gorgeous day. So I wanna ask you, if you remember last week, we talked about Dharma and yoga. And we said that this new story of Homo Amor is Dharma, right? It's a new story. It integrates the best knowings of pre-modern, modern, and postmodern into this new intimate vision of reality. And the new story itself, separate parts from different wisdom streams into larger wholes, is a new configuration of intimacy. So that's the Dharma. And then the yoga is how I practice, right? How I practice, because the nature of reality is if I just know something, but that knowledge is not in my body, it's not alive, my heart's not aflame, then it doesn't affect me. Then actually my lowest common denominator takes over. Then my conditioning takes over. That's not a problem. That's the nature of reality. That's not a bug in the system, that's a feature. The nature of reality is that we choose and recreate ourselves literally in every moment. And so what we said is that every week we're going to be looking at the Dharma and the yoga of Homo Amor. And you need both Dharma and yoga, meaning you need a new meta theory, right? A new story, and you need practice. You need practices. And if you have Dharma without yoga, it doesn't work. So for example, Fichte and Schelling, who launched evolutionary spirituality in Europe in the early 19th century, so they had beautiful Dharma, they didn't have yoga, they had no practice. So in the end, it had no impact. The New Age movement in the United States, in Europe, Western Europe, and also in Asia and different places has lots of practices, but no coherent set of first principles, first values, no genuine narrative of identity, right? No genuine universe story. So it's a lot of practice, a lot of yoga, but no Dharma. To actually change reality, we need Dharma and yoga together. So our first practice that we suggested was the first Dharma, right? The first Dharma and yoga was, anyone remember? I'm going to go look in the chat box. And remember was actually writing your sacred autobiography or writing a snippet from your sacred autobiography. Okay? So the first, and I think I said the first Dharma, I meant the first yoga. The first yoga, the first practice of yoga was actually writing your sacred autobiography. Now, one of the practices we have is what we call Holy of Holies. And I often study individually with people, and the first practice we do is to actually write our story. It's writing my sacred autobiography, right? Knowing who I am in this larger story. What does reality want from me? What's my unique destiny? That's the practice of writing sacred autobiography, right? But there's also kind of what we're going to call a fragment practice, a snippet practice, where you just write one little piece, right? I was born here, right? I grew up this way. I was missing this, and I went to claim it over here. So I've got to see my story, my sacred autobiography, as chapter and verse in the universe story. Does that make sense? It's my story, my love story, the love story of my life, the yearning of my life, the longing of my life is chapter and verse in the universal love story. So when I write my sacred autobiography, I'm not writing about my separate self traumas, although that might be part of my story. I'm not writing about my victimhood, although sometimes that's part of the story. But I'm writing about how does reality move through me? What are my gifts? What am I called to do? Right? How does reality want to show up through me? And what I do is I mythologize, don't pathologize. I don't look at my story as pathology. I look at it as mythology. And we're going to spend an entire One Mountain in the next couple of weeks talking about this, but I want to just going to hear one example. So maybe, Jamie, do you have yours open? Maybe you could just, as we close, you wrote a little segment, and a few people did this week, and we'll just have a little practice just to hear people's little sacred autobiography snippet. So what it could be is, I'm just give you an example. Jamie wrote it differently, but here's what it could be. It could be, right, during this week, right, something happened, and I felt the evolutionary impulse moving through me, and I went and did this. So say my little sacred autobiography, when I write up a little snippet of what I did, we're going to post that, right, on our Outrageous Love Facebook page, where we talk about committing outrageous acts of love. Because what we're going to talk about next week is that actually my sacred autobiography is very deeply related to living as an outrageous lover and committing my outrageous acts of love. So I want to make that connection next week. But for now, I just want to model it, right? Because we talked about last week our first practice. What's the first practice? Right? Writing telling, living into my sacred autobiography. So Jamie, if you're up for it, can you just give us a little read, like a 1-minute read of your sacred autobiography? Would be awesome. You up for that, brother?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Take it away.
Yes. Thank you. My sacred autobiography. In college, I thought I comprehended the universe from Einstein to Schrodinger. I was an engineer and I thought we knew the laws to build the perfect future. I crashed and burned a few years later.
Did we lose Jamie there? Did we lose our dear friend?
I think so.
Yes. Yes.
That's okay. Sometimes you're reading your sacred autobiography, it just kind of blows it out, right? The circuits blow. So Jamie was about to start reading. We'll hear from him next week. That's perfect. We must have had a technical problem, but that's perfect. But so here's the idea. You can either write like a 5-page sacred autobiography where you tell the story of your whole life. We'll talk about how to do that next week. Or just write a little snippet, right? Just like 5-6 lines, right? Where you just like the 5-6 line story of your life in 5-6 lines, but where you see yourself not through a therapeutic lens, not through a trauma lens, not through a victim lens, although those all have legitimacy. Those all need to be worked with in the right place, but they're not the core of who you are. I am not my wounds, and I am not my trauma. I'm not my brokenness. It's all part of it, the holy and the broken, hallelujah. But who am I at my core? And oh my God, I'm a unique self. That's the code of this week. I'm a unique configuration of intimacy and desire, right? And the question always is, Christina Tehel, how deep is your love? And how deep does my love go? How much can I find the love of reality coursing through me? And we're going to end this week with that song, right? How deep is your love? That's when we're going to end, right? But just feel that. And I want to just invite this week for a couple of people just to write your sacred autobiography in 5-6 lines, like a 5-6 line mission statement sacred autobiography. I'd wanted Jamie to read his as a model, but he got probably thrown off the internet because his sacred autobiography was so powerful and beautiful. But it's a great practice. So I actually tell my story and I locate myself, right? My story is chapter and verse in the universal love story. When you do that, everything changes. Your whole perspective changes. Change your story and change your life. When I changed my story, right, I changed my life. It's everything. So we're going to hear from Jamie next week. Take us inside, right? How deep is your love? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Barbara Marks Hubbard. Thank you, Barbara Marks Hubbard. Thank you, Christina Tehel. Thank you, Jamie, for starting. Thank you, Krista. Right, thank you, David. And let's go into how deep is your love, and let's blow open reality, and let's step into the world as outrageous lovers, responding to outrageous pain, right, in ways that we never have before. Take us inside. Are we ready? Are we on? Are we?
I want you to breathe me. Let me be your air.